Portions of our programming are brought to you by our good friends at Provident Credit Union. With 21 Bay Area locations to serve you and your banking needs, visit providencecu.org. Now back to Rob Black and Your Money with your host, Rob Black, on the Bay Area's business leader, AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back in, Rob Black and Your Money. I'm Rob Black. I learned today that zinning is an action verb. And when your brand becomes an action verb, it's usually a pretty good thing. So if you hear a teenager, or I guess a smoker in your life, say, I'm going to go out and do some zinning, that's an action verb, and you kind of know what it means now. Google became an action verb while I was on air 20 years ago. I was talking to Tiffany Schlane, founder of the Webbies. I was nominated for a Webby for Best Podcast. Long story short, where does this go? I said, oh, Tiffany, I said, this is a radio show, so I can't see you, but I looked you up and you're a good looking lady, or something like that. I said, you're like 25 and you're very stylish. And she goes, oh, you Googled me. And I was like, oh, what's that mean? And it's like the action verb, right? So anyway, anytime you come out with an action verb, it's a good thing because you're kind of in the mindset of masses. Joining me now, Scott Thompson, Mr. Mortgage Man. He's not quite an action verb, but he does do some action in real estate and has some insights for us. You can find him at mrmortgageman.com. Scott, you just sold your house, and I don't even have a concept of selling a house in this kind of market. I've got my low mortgage. I'm one of those people who are like, I'm keeping my low mortgage rate of 2.3%. No, it's 2.6%. And I'm not giving it up because I see mortgage rates out there 6.5%, 7%. That scares me. I don't want to do that swap. I like that low inflation beating payment for the next 25 plus years that I have. What was it like for you to come into the market where people are kind of being staunchly staying in their own homes? You just sold a house and you bought a new one. Give me a little bit on that process.
Yeah, well, we bought the house in 2010.
Okay.
And, being in the business, we've been watching, just go to Redfin and take a look at, the value. And with my first child about to go to college, my wife and I thought that, hey, maybe now is a good time to take some chips off the table. And the house had appreciated quite a bit. And we didn't need the really big house. And we don't know where life is going to take us pretty much that next stage of life. I'm a little over 50. So we just thought the time was right to sell the house. And literally we are closing today. And without going in exact numbers, bought 2010, sold 2024, and the home more than doubled in value in that time. So pretty good profit.
So now buying a new one, what's it like to be a buyer right now? Are there a lot of bids on the home that you bought?
Yeah, it took a little. So buying a house, inventory is just really tight, and then it's super competitive. So, it's an investment. So we wanted to get, the right house at the right price. We made offers on so the house we just bought, it was our third offer. So the first two, we either got outbid or for whatever reason, they didn't pick us. But we stuck with it, stayed positive and found a home that we really like.
I don't think I've brought this up, but 4 years ago when I sold a home that I bought in 2010, it too more than doubled. We had 26 offers.
Wow.
And 25 of them were from overseas. People who were born overseas, maybe working overseas, or born overseas that came to the United States. Some were still living overseas that wanted the home. And it was one person who was not born overseas. So one couple. Kind of strange, right? Because you hear about some of the stories and what's happening in real estate. And I think real estate has stories, and you definitely have stories as a mortgage lender. Who's coming to you right now? Because like I said, I want to buy, but the rates are a little high, and I'm kind of waiting for them to come a little bit lower. Waiting is the wrong idea. I know that. You know that. We all know that, because I could always refi later. Finding the right property is the right idea. But what are you seeing from buyers right now, Scott?
The buyers that I'm personally trying to focus on is, kind of in line, I would think, with your listeners, investors
Okay.
or folks that have been a homeowner for a good period of time and they have tons of equity in their home. Possibly they don't want to, like you, they have a really low interest rate. So they don't want to possibly refinance that to a much
Right.
higher rate. But using real estate as a vehicle, they may be in a great position to buy a second home. So there's products out there that would allow a person such as that to get a second home. And like you just said, that one home you bought doubled in value in just 4 years. So pretty good investment.
It was 10 years, but I sold it 4 years ago.
Oh.
But still a pretty good investment.
Yeah.
It got me enough equity to slide into a bigger home in a nicer neighborhood. So it more than did its job. And I've got a lot of equity in the new home at a very, very low rate, which I'm comfortable with. Now, you have a daughter that's going to be going to the University of Alabama. And this is a big question in the world of real estate. Buying your daughter a house or your son a home, a condo, a townhouse while they go to college so they can skip the board of the room and board. So they can do their own boarding and skip the room side of the college cost. Have you thought about buying your daughter a condo or a townhouse? Now, University of Alabama, I don't know the market, so it's just the bigger picture. Have you thought of getting her a home while she's in college?
Yes, sir. Roll Tide.
Oh, gosh.
Doing a little research on Tuscaloosa. Alabama has every single year about 40,000 students. And then the area, so doing the research on the area, since 2015 has seen steady growth in housing values. They've gone up about 36%, which, again, to answer your question, I started thinking about it as a potential investment.
Okay.
I think housing-wise, it'd be stable because you have a constant flow of students. I think the one thing that has me on the fence is two things. I don't know if I want to buy a place and then have college students being my renters. I know how I was in college, and
That's right.
not saying they're bad tenants, but I don't think they necessarily take care of a property the way I'd want it taken care of. And then after she graduates from Alabama, 4 years later, do I want to have a property in Alabama? I don't know. I haven't decided, but that's what I'm thinking about.
I hear you. And I like the idea of vacation rentals as investments, or cities like Palo Alto or 10 to 15 miles outside of Palo Alto where there's jobs. So I get wanting to be more local with my real estate so I can kind of keep an eye on it or get a vibe on it. But I do own a home, which is interesting to bring up, in Raleigh, North Carolina, because it's right smack dab in the middle of three colleges: NC State, University of North Carolina, and Duke. And I figure there'll always be people starting their career in Raleigh. I think Raleigh is kind of an up and coming career city because it's so localized to three major college towns that kids get out of school and they want to stick around where they can have a lot of fun and stay in the same kind of area, the Southeast. So anyway, I'm totally digressing. Any last thoughts, Scott, before I cut you off, Mr. Mortgage Man?
No, I think people are on the fence a lot waiting for rates. And I know personally, since I just did it, I never even worried about that. I just was going to go get the home that I wanted. And I know in the future, as rates come down, which they're forecasted to do, I can refinance. So I felt pretty good about the whole situation.
People can find you online at mrmortgageman.com. It's Mortgage, MORTGAGE, man.com. No spaces, no underscores, just mrmortgageman.com. Thanks, Scott. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks about real estate again. And good luck to your daughter starting college in University of Alabama. That's a big trend right now in the United States. The kids in high school, even though they're dropping attendance by about 5% as freshmen this year, the colleges in the Southeast are doing quite well because it's rumored to be on the idea that they look fun If you watch a SEC football game on a weekend, the games are sold out. Everyone's losing their mind. You're seeing good-looking young men, good-looking young women, enjoying the atmosphere. And that's kind of a postcard for saying, come here, this is fun. And I was talking to my son the other day about it because he's now playing football and he's taking that path of he wants to play in high school, which might lead to he wants to play in college. And he was talking about my college and how many championships we won in situations like that. And he's just and I'm like, you're going to love college if you go to college. I don't require that you go to college because I'm totally fine with you being a paramedic or a dental assistant or whatever you want to be in your life. A veterinarian, I'm totally, whatever you want to be, you can be. I'm definitely not pushing them into financial media. That to me is weird when kids follow their parents into their careers. I get it, but I find it weird. But we talked about college and we talked about how it's the best time of your life and you should go and enjoy. And those 4 years will be the last 4 years where it's stress-free for you. And he's only in 8th grade, but he's starting to get the lessons from dad on college is fun. You should go just to learn how to get up at 7 a.m., just to learn how to have a professor say, this is due in 10 days. You have to read 75 pages a day for the next 10 days. You're like, what? That trained me for this, if that makes sense. So Apple's cutting back on the Vision Pro production. That's kind of expected. An influential analyst yesterday cut Apple's production of estimates on the iPhone 16. Doesn't look like it's a blockbuster out of the gate, but people are still upgrading their devices every 3 to 4 years instead of every 2 years. You can find me online at robblackshow.com. That's robblackshow.com.